So, what I've typically seen teachers or presenters do when sharing their PowerPoints in Teams is selecting to share their entire screen. And I am aware that sometimes when you're presenting in PowerPoint, it goes to full screen mode. And this is sometimes a little bit complicated to switch between the different screens or see the chat to pay attention to who raises their hand. So they select the screen option, but they go through the slide deck in the editing mode in PowerPoint, which could be somewhat distracting for the audience to focus in the content. They see the ribbon, they see the slides thumbnails on the left hand side. So instead of actually focusing on the content, they have all this different tools at their view. So I'm going to show you what is the best way to do this. So here I am in a Teams meeting with a student, and I'll go ahead and find the share option in my toolbar. Once I click it, I see the drop down in the bottom, and I have a few options: the desktop, the window, the PowerPoint, and the whiteboard. In the PowerPoint option, I will see the recent PowerPoints I've used, but if I don't see the PowerPoint I need, I can just click Browse, and I can select a PowerPoint from Teams and Channels, OneDrive, or I can select one stored in my computer. I can navigate to the folder I have that PowerPoint, and I can click Open to launch it in my Teams meeting. Once my PowerPoint opens up, I have a few tools here for me to navigate between my slides. As I move through the slides, my students or my audience will also see the same slides as I do. By default, however, your students or audience will be able to also navigate between the slides. They can go back to the slide that the presenter is in by just hitting this button to presenter, and it'll take them back to the slide that the presenter is currently showing. Okay, I'm back here in my presenter view, and if I don't want my students or audience to move in my slideshow, I can go ahead and click on this I button so it prevents anyone from moving back and forth the slides. So I, as a presenter, have full control of which slides my audience or students see. Once I'm done presenting, I can just click Stop Presenting to stop sharing my PowerPoint with my students or audience. This is a great option when you only have one display and you don't want to worry about managing different apps with only having one screen. Another caveat to be aware of when using this option is that if you have any videos in your PowerPoint that you need to play for your students to watch and listen to, you will not be able to play them in real time. Your students will have to play their videos independently when they get to that slide. So let me show you another option when you have this type of situation. In my PowerPoint app, I'm going to go ahead and select the slideshow option, then set up slideshow. In this window, I'm going to switch to browse by an individual, and then I will click OK. From here, I can then start my slideshow by clicking this button from beginning. I notice that instead of being full screen when presenting, I now have this window that I can resize and move around. Okay, now let's go ahead and go into our Microsoft Teams meeting. So we'll start by going into our share option, and we want to make sure that we click on this checkbox that says include system audio. From here, I see that in my window category, my PowerPoint slideshow is listed as one of the windows. So I can go ahead and click this option, and now my students will see my PowerPoint. Let's switch to our student view. So here I see that my students or audience see my PowerPoint in a lot more cleaner way. Also, I make sure that any audio that is being played in any of my videos is heard by my audience, and that any videos are being played in real time. Now let me show you a fairly new feature within PowerPoint Online called Live Presentation. So first of all, what is a live presentation? is when audience members can see a presentation on their devices and read live subtitles in their preferred language while you speak. They can also look back at one of your earlier slides. They can go all the way back to your first slide, but they can only go as far forward as the slide you're currently displaying, so you don't have to worry about them reading ahead in your deck. So I'm going to start by opening my PowerPoint through my PowerPoint online. And the first thing I'm going to do from here is click on the option that says Slideshow. And I'm going to look for the Present Live option. When you click on this option, this initial screen will show up with the join link, the number of people who have joined your session, and also the QR code for those that can just scan using their phone or device's camera. When presenting, you will see in the bottom left corner a toolbar. This first option is to turn your microphone on or off. This is for the closed captioning or the live subtitles option. Then we have the arrows to navigate between your different slides on your deck. This option here allows you to jump to a specific slide in your deck. Then we have our pen. If you need to highlight or write on your slide, you can select this option and go ahead and annotate on your slide. You have access to different ink colors and also to an eraser to get rid of any annotations or highlights you did. This option here is to turn on your closed captioning or subtitle options. You can set those up ahead of time, and I will show you in a minute where we can set the audio settings. This option here shows you how many people have joined your private live session. An option to copy the link to join your presentation. Perhaps you need to paste it in a chat so someone else can join it. Or you can show the welcome screen again to allow users to scan the QR code or see the link again. You can also end your session in this last option. To set up your audio settings, go into the arrow next to Present Live and select Audio Settings. Here in the right-hand side panel, you will be able to indicate what is your spoken language and if you like to have the subtitles in any other language besides English. Please note that each member that joins your live presentation will be able to set up what language they prefer to see the subtitles in. I will show you in a second once we go into the student view. You can still use this tool without having your students join your live presentation. You can just launch your presentation and enable the subtitles or the closed captioning and just share the window where you're presenting your PowerPoint. This is a great support for English learners or hard of hearing students that you may have or in any other language class. To join a live presentation, your students will have to open a Chrome browser and go to the link for the live presentation. Once they're in the presentation, they have in the bottom left corner the arrow to go back to the previous slides. If they want to return to the current slide that the teacher is presenting, they can just click in Current Slide to jump to the slide that the teacher has. To adjust the closed captioning or the language that they'd like to have the subtitles, they can go ahead and click in this English language option and select the desired language. Now everything that the teacher says will be translated in near real time and will be part of the transcript here. Students can also hide this pane and have the subtitles show up in the bottom of the slide. So now in this last option, I'm going to show you how you can share your window using your Google Slides. So here I have my slideshow that I'd like to present to my students in a Teams meeting. Let's go into our Teams meeting and find that share option. And I will make sure that I check this box to include my system audio. I will then go ahead and find the Chrome browser where I have my Google Slides. Now in my Google Slides, I will go ahead and find the Present option in the top right, and I will go ahead and click on it. Now, besides the different tools that I know I have available, let me go ahead and show you the closed captioning that we have here in Google Slides. Here in this option, I can adjust where my text show up, and then I have the text size settings. To enable my closed captioning, I just clicked on the captions option, and you will see the transcription show up in the bottom of the slide of what it's being said. To turn this option off, you just go back to that same toolbar and click on the captions option again. Thank you.